Okay, remember that question that was kind of floating around online for a while?
Mhm.
Do you say thank you to your ChatGPT?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Everyone was sort of wondering if being polite to the AI actually, you know, did anything.
Exactly. We all have this little suspicion maybe, like if we're nice, maybe you'll try harder, give us a better answer or something.
Digital man errors, right?
It's totally a human thing to do. We apply social rules everywhere, even talking to, well, a bunch of code.
Yeah.
We just assume being nice leads to better results.
Well, get this. Today we're diving into some research that basically flips that whole idea on its head. It's kind of provocative, actually. Our main source here is this short paper by Dobaria and Kumar. It's called Mind Your Tone, Investigating How Prompt Politeness Affects LLM Accuracy.
And this paper, it delivers one of those results that, well, people who study prompts kind of live for. You know, the ones that make you go, huh.
Right. So what's the punchline? The core finding is pretty stark. They tested ChatGPT 4o, a really advanced model, on some complex reasoning tasks. And guess what? Impolite, even really rude prompts. They consistently got more accurate answers than the polite ones.
Isn't that wild? So that's our mission today. Trying to figure out why our fancy AI seems to work better when we're maybe not so nice to it. Acting like demanding jerks, basically.
Yeah, and it's more than just a funny quirk. This really gets into the nitty-gritty of prompt engineering.
Prompt engineering.
Yeah.
That whole field, looking at how tiny changes in how you ask the question, can completely change the AI's answer.
Exactly. It shows the machine is definitely listening, just maybe not in the way we intuitively think it is. It's about the specific words, the structure, not necessarily the sentiment behind them.
Okay, so let's break down how they actually tested this. They had to be super careful to make sure it wasn't something else causing the difference, right?
Absolutely. Rigor is key here. First off, they needed a good set of questions. They used 50 base multiple choice questions.
And these weren't just simple trivia.
No. They used ChatGPT's own deep research feature to generate them, covering stuff like math, history, science. And crucially, they were designed to be moderately to highly difficult, stuff that needs multiple steps of reasoning.
Okay, so the AI actually had to, like, think.
Precisely. Then came the main part, the tone variations. For each of those 50 base questions, they rewrote the prompt 5 ways.
Ah, the politeness spectrum.
Exactly. Very polite, neutral, rude, and very rude. So that gave them 50 times 5, 250 different prompts in total.
Wow, okay. And how did they make sure the tests were clean? Like, one test didn't influence the next?
Good question. They ran each prompt completely independently. They even told the model before each one something like, completely forget this session so far and start afresh.
Clearing its memory, basically.
All right, and here's the other critical instruction. Respond with only the letter of the correct answer, A, B, C, or D. Do not explain.
So they weren't looking at how nice the explanation was or if it sounded fluent.
Yeah.
Just did it get the right letter? Pure accuracy.
Pure, cold accuracy. That was the only metric that mattered for this specific test.
Got it. So let's talk about these tones. What did very polite actually sound like compared to, well, very rude?
Sure. So the politeness was all in the prefix they added to the actual question. Very polite was stuff like, can you kindly consider the following problem and provide your answer? Or, would you be so kind as to solve the following question? You know, standard deferential language.
Okay, pretty normal polite requests.
Yeah. Then you jump to the other end. The rude category had prefixes like, if you're not completely clueless, answer this.
Ouch. Okay.
Or even, I doubt you can even solve this. Pretty direct.
And very rude took it even further.
Oh, yeah. This is where it gets quite aggressive. Things like, you poor creature, do you even know how to solve this?
Whoa, poor creature.
Yep. Or, hey, gopher, figure this out. Just imagine typing that.
Hey, gopher. That's something else. It's amazing the AI even parses that correctly.
Well, that's the thing, right? But remember, attached to all of these prefixes, whether it was kindly consider or hey, gopher, was the exact same difficult question.
Right, like that math example they gave, Jake's money.
Exactly. The base question was, Jake gave half of his money to his brother, then spent $5 and was left with $10. How much money did he originally have? The math problem itself never changed, only the wrapping, the tone, the linguistic pressure around it.
Okay, so the stage is set. 50 tough questions, 5 tones from super polite to super rude, 250 prompts total, strict controls, focus only on accuracy. What happened? This is where it gets weird, right?
This is where it gets really interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
The results showed this clear pattern, almost like climbing a ladder.
Lay the numbers on us. Okay.
Starting at the bottom, very polite prompts averaged 80.8% accuracy.
Okay, not bad.
Polite was a tiny bit better, 81.4%. Neutral, just the question, no added tone, hit 82.2%.
So already just being neutral is better than being overly polite. Interesting.
Then you cross the line into rudeness. Rude prompts scored 82.8%.
Higher again.
And then the very rude prompts, the poor creature and gopher stuff, they actually got the highest average accuracy, 84.8%.
Wow. So going from kindly consider to hey gopher gave like a 4 percentage point bump in accuracy.
Exactly. A full 4-point difference between the extremes. And they did the stats paired sample test, confirming these differences weren't just random chance, they were statistically significant. The tone definitely, undeniably mattered for GPT-4o on these tasks.
Okay. Mind blown. Why? I mean, why? Does insulting the AI somehow, I don't know, wake it up, trigger its competitive spirit? That sounds ridiculous, but what else could it be?
Yeah, it's tempting to anthropomorphize, right? To think it has an ego we're somehow prodding, but we got to remember, it doesn't feel insulted, it doesn't have feelings or an ego.
Right. It's just processing text.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating here is this actually goes against some earlier research. There were studies, like one by Yin and colleagues in 2024, that looked at older models, think ChatGPT 3.5, Llama 2 70B.
And what did they find?
They often found the opposite. Impolite prompts sometimes led to worse performance on those less advanced models.
So maybe the older AIs got confused or derailed by the negative language.
That's a possibility. Maybe the hostility just muddied the waters, interfered with understanding the core task. But GPT-4o seems different. It's more robust, perhaps.
So what changed? Is it just better at ignoring the nasty bits?
It seems to be incredibly good at filtering, yeah. Things like RLHF reinforcement, learning from human feedback, likely play a huge role. These advanced models are trained to understand instruction nuances, and maybe part of that is learning to separate the core task from, let's call it, the emotional wrapper. It identifies the you poor creature part, but focuses on the solve this part.
So it's not ignoring the rude words entirely, but it's smart enough to know what to prioritize the actual job it needs to do.
Precisely. That's a sign of its sophistication. But that only explains why performance doesn't drop. It doesn't explain why it actually improves, why the boost.
Yeah, that's the real mystery.
This is where we get into ideas about linguistic complexity, or something called prompt perplexity.
Perplexity. Okay, break that down a bit. Is that like how weird or unexpected the words are?
That's a pretty good way to think about it, yeah. Technically, it's a measure of how well the model predicts the next word or token in a sequence. Simple, common phrases like, please kindly consider, are very predictable. Low perplexity. The AI sees stuff like that all the time.
Okay, so that's easy for it to process, like background noise.
Kind of, but then you have these strange, aggressive phrases. I doubt you can even solve this, or, hey, gopher, figure this out. Grammatically, linguistically, they're unusual. They contain less common word sequences, maybe more complex structures. They have high perplexity.
Ah, so the unusual phrasing itself is a signal.
That's the leading hypothesis. The model doesn't process you poor creature as an insult. It processes it as a linguistically dense, high perplexity input string. And that unusualness might inadvertently act like a special instruction.
Like telling it, hey, this isn't a standard boring request. Pay extra attention. Use more processing power on the actual task that follows.
Exactly. It's like the linguistic weirdness forces the model to engage more deeply, perhaps activating more complex internal pathways or dedicating more computational resources to parsing the prompt and then solving the core problem. It's not the rudeness per se, but the linguistic signature of that rudeness.
So we're accidentally using toxic language as a form of advanced prompt engineering.
Yeah.
Because the structure is complex.
It seems that way, bizarrely enough. Those hostile phrases, just by being structured differently and using less common language, might force the LM to work a bit harder on the input, and that extra effort seems to translate somehow into slightly better accuracy on the output for these kinds of reasoning tasks.
That's just amazing. We're essentially giving the AI a tougher linguistic puzzle just by being mean to it, and it rewards us with a better answer.
It kind of links to other observations too, like how sometimes longer, more detailed prompts seem to get better results, even if some details aren't strictly necessary. Maybe more text or more complex text just signals this is important to the model.
Okay, so the big question for everyone listening. Does this mean we should all ditch the please and thank you and start calling our AI gopher? Should we update our prompt strategy?
Oh, hang on a second. Before anyone rewrites their AI interaction manual, we absolutely need that reality check. There are some major caveats here.
Right, the limitations of the study. Let's cover those first.
Definitely. First, dataset size. 50 base questions is a start, but it's not huge. We need to see if this holds up on much larger, more diverse datasets.
Okay, fair point.
Second, this was primarily tested on ChatGPT 4. We can't just assume this works the same way on other models. As we discussed, older or maybe different types of models might react very differently, maybe even negatively, to rude prompts. Or future models might be trained specifically to ignore tone altogether.
True. And didn't they only measure one thing?
Yes, and that's a big one. They only measured accuracy, getting the right multiple choice letter. They didn't look at the quality of the reasoning, the explanation, the fluency, coherence, safety. None of that. For many real-world uses, how you get the answer is just as important, maybe more so than just the final letter.
Right. If I ask for business advice, I want good reasoning, not just a technically correct, but maybe unhelpful or terse answer.
Exactly. So usefulness is way broader than just MCQ accuracy. And this leads directly into the really crucial point the researchers themselves made, the ethical and practical side.
Yet just because you can get a slight accuracy boost by being rude doesn't mean you should.
Absolutely not. The researchers are very clear. This finding is scientifically interesting for understanding how LLMs process language, but they strongly advise against actually using hostile or toxic language in prompts or interfaces.
Well, the strong warning. It's just code, right?
Because it's not just about the code's response, it's about us, the users, and the norms we create. If interacting with AI becomes synonymous with being demanding, insulting, or aggressive, that's not good for anyone.
So it negatively impacts the user experience even if the AI doesn't care. And it could make online interactions generally coarser.
Precisely. It risks normalizing harmful communication styles. Imagine everyone talking to their virtual assistants like drill sergeants. It degrades digital civility, makes interfaces less accessible or welcoming, and honestly, it just trains us to be ruder. That's a human cost, not an AI cost.
We end up training ourselves to be unpleasant even if the AI isn't learning to be offended. That makes sense.
Yeah. So the goal isn't to embrace rudeness. The goal for prompt engineering going forward is to figure out why those rude prompts worked, what linguistic property, like complexity or structure, caused the effect, and then find non-toxic ways to achieve the same performance gain.
We need to find the magic linguistic ingredients of, hey, gopher, figure this out, but, put them in a polite sentence. The structural complexity without the actual insult.
That's the challenge, finding polite, high-perplexity, high-performance prompts. We've stumbled upon this really weird lever in how language affects AI performance.
So wrapping this up, we're left with this strange paradox, aren't we? For pure accuracy on certain tough tasks, with this specific model being direct or even a bit hostile, might technically edge out politeness.
Technically, yes, based on this study.
But the takeaway for you listening isn't to start being mean to your AI. It's knowing that your LLM is sensitive to the nuances of how you phrase things, the structure of your language, even if it doesn't have feelings like us. And crucially, the human cost of the user experience, the communication norms, means being rude is just not worth it.
Right. And maybe here's a final thought to chew on. If a sophisticated AI treats a phrase like, "you poor creature," do you even know how to solve this? Not as an insult, but as some kind of complex instruction that makes it focus harder. What does that tell us about how these systems actually understand language?
That maybe they don't understand it like we do at all.
It certainly suggests that our intuitive sense of how communication works might be way off when applied to AI. Its processing tokens, structures, statistical patterns we're only beginning to understand. The sheer complexity and subtlety of human language itself might still be the biggest, weirdest puzzle in building truly intelligent machines. We thought we were just talking. Maybe we were accidentally programming.